Today, Venus in the final degrees of Pisces forms a tense aspect with Pluto in Aquarius, and overnight, hidden jealousy you didn't even know you were carrying surfaces in your relationship. Not the obvious jealousy where your partner talks to an ex and you feel it immediately, the insidious kind, the jealousy you've been repressing, the jealousy you've been ashamed of, the jealousy you've been telling yourself you're too evolved to feel. And today, Pluto, the planet of shadow, obsession, and what's buried, pulls it to the surface whether you're ready or not. Today, you see the jealousy you've been hiding from yourself, and then you have to decide what to do with it. Here's what makes today different from normal relationship tension. Venus is in Pisces, boundless, unconditional love. The kind of love that says, I trust you completely, I have no insecurities, I'm spiritually evolved beyond petty emotions like jealousy. And Pluto in Aquarius is the energy that says, really? Let's test that. Pluto doesn't accept surface-level emotional narratives. Pluto digs. Pluto exposes. Pluto says, you say you're not jealous. But here's the obsessive thought you had at 3 a.m. when they didn't text back. Here's the way you stalked their ex on Instagram for 20 minutes yesterday. Here's the fantasy you had about them leaving you for someone better. Today, the gap between the love story you're telling yourself and the jealousy you're actually feeling gets exposed. And here's what's hard. The moon is still in Libra. Libra wants harmony. Libra wants balance. Libra wants to be the cool, secure partner who never feels jealousy. So even though Pluto is pulling this shadow emotion to the surface, Libra moon is saying, don't say it out loud. Don't admit it. Don't be the crazy jealous person. Stay composed. Stay graceful. So you're stuck, feeling intense jealousy, but unable to express it without feeling like you're violating your own self-image as a secure, evolved person. That's today. That's Venus-Pluto tension, with a Libra moon, shadow emotions demanding to be seen, but no acceptable way to express them. I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening today. Why Medea, the Greek sorceress who loved so obsessively that she destroyed everything when betrayed, shows us that jealousy isn't the problem. Repressing jealousy until it becomes toxic obsession is the problem. What Venus-Pluto tension does, and why it exposes the jealousy you've been hiding even from yourself. Which 3 signs struggle most with today's shadow exposure, and what you need to do today with the jealousy that surfaces because repressing it makes it worse, but acting on it impulsively destroys trust. Today isn't about being jealous or not jealous, it's about being honest. About seeing the insecurity underneath the jealousy, and about deciding if you're going to heal it or let it control you. Medea's love turned into obsession because she had no outlet for her fear. Let me tell you about Medea. In Greek mythology, she's a powerful sorceress, princess of Colchis, and the woman who falls desperately in love with Jason of the Argonauts. And here's her story. Jason arrives in Colchis to steal the golden fleece. He needs Medea's magic to succeed. And Medea, under a spell from Aphrodite, falls completely, obsessively, all-consumingly in love with him. She betrays her father. She kills her brother to help Jason escape. She abandons her home, her family, her entire life to follow this man because she loves him, because she's chosen him, because he promised her everything. And for years it works. They're together, they have children, they build a life. But then Jason meets someone else, a princess, a politically advantageous marriage, and he tells Medea he's leaving her, that she was useful once, but now he's moving on to someone better, someone younger, someone with more status. And Medea doesn't just feel hurt, she feels consumed, obsessed, possessed by a jealousy so intense it destroys her ability to think. And instead of processing that jealousy, instead of feeling the grief underneath it, she acts. She kills Jason's new bride with a poisoned dress, and then to hurt Jason in the way that will destroy him most completely, she kills their own children. She burns down everything they built together, because if she can't have him, no one can. Here's what makes Medea's story essential for understanding today. The problem wasn't that she felt jealousy. Jealousy is a normal human emotion when you feel threatened in a relationship. The problem was that she had no way to process that jealousy healthily. No way to say, I'm terrified you're going to leave me for someone better. No way to vulnerably express, I gave up everything for you and now I feel disposable. So the jealousy festered, It became obsession. It became rage. It became destruction. Today, Venus-Pluto is Medea's jealousy surfacing. And the question is, are you going to process it consciously, or are you going to repress it until it becomes toxic? What's actually happening astrologically, and why Pluto exposes what you've been hiding? All right, let me break down what's happening, because today is astrologically designed to surface shadow emotions in relationships. Venus is in the final degrees of Pisces, approximately 27-29 degrees. Tomorrow, March 6th, Venus enters Aries. So today is the last day of Venus in Pisces for this cycle, and Venus in Pisces is idealistic love, unconditional acceptance, spiritual connection, the kind of love that transcends petty human emotions like jealousy, insecurity, possessiveness. Venus in Pisces says, I love you so much that I trust completely. I have no fears, I'm secure in our bond. But here's the problem. Pluto in Aquarius is forming a tense aspect to Venus today. Pluto is at approximately 4-5 degrees Aquarius, and even though the exact aspect isn't a perfect square, the energy is tense. Pluto represents shadow, the unconscious, what you've buried, what you don't want to look at. And when Pluto makes contact with Venus, your relationship planet, it says, let's see what's underneath that unconditional love story you're telling. It exposes the insecurity, the possessiveness, the jealousy, the fear that they'll leave you, the obsessive thoughts you've been having, the stalking behavior you've been justifying, the control mechanisms you've been pretending are just caring. Here's what that means practically. Today, something triggers your jealousy. Maybe they mention an ex casually. Maybe they're texting someone and you notice they smile at their phone. Maybe they're distant and you immediately assume they're interested in someone else. Maybe they compliment someone and you feel a spike of insecurity. Whatever the trigger, it's small. It shouldn't be a big deal. But today, that small trigger opens a floodgate, and suddenly you're aware of all the jealousy you've been repressing, all the insecurity you've been pretending you don't feel, all the obsessive thoughts you've been having about them leaving you, choosing someone else, realizing you're not enough. And there's more. The moon is in Libra. Libra is the sign of partnership, but it's also the sign of appearances, of being the good partner, the secure one, the evolved one. Libra doesn't want to be messy, doesn't want to be the jealous, insecure person. So even though Pluto is pulling this shadow emotion to the surface, Libra moon is saying don't show it, don't admit it, don't be that person. So you're caught, feeling intense jealousy, but unable to express it without violating your self-image. So you repress it again, or you express it passive-aggressively, or you act it out through control disguised as care, and that makes it worse. Here's what happens today specifically. You wake up and something in your relationship triggers jealousy, a small thing, but Pluto magnifies it, and suddenly you're spiraling. You're checking their phone, you're stalking their ex on social media, you're replaying every interaction they've had with anyone attractive, you're creating worst-case scenarios in your mind, you're obsessing, and part of you knows this is irrational, but another part of you feels like this jealousy is telling you something true, that your fear is valid, that they are going to leave, that you aren't enough. That's Venus-Pluto, that's the shadow surfacing, and you have to decide, do you process this consciously, or do you let it control you? Scorpio, your ruling planet is exposing the jealousy you've been calling intuition. If you're a Scorpio sun, moon, or rising, Pluto is your ruling planet. And today, Pluto is exposing your relationship shadows whether you're ready or not. Here's what specifically happens for Scorpio today. You're naturally intense in relationships. You feel everything deeply, and you have a gift for seeing beneath surfaces. But here's your pattern. You've been calling your jealousy intuition. You've been telling yourself that when you feel jealous, it's because you're psychically picking up on something real, that your obsessive thoughts about your partner betraying you are actually premonitions, that your need to know everything they're doing is just you being perceptive. But today, Pluto asks, is it really intuition, or is it just jealousy you're not willing to admit? Here's your specific work for today. First, distinguish between intuition and projection. Intuition is calm, it's knowing. Jealousy is anxious, it's obsessive. If you're spiraling, it's jealousy. Second, Your partner is not your past partners. Stop punishing them for betrayals they haven't committed yet, just because someone else did it before. Third, control disguised as love is still control. I just want to know where you are, because I care, is not love if it's actually, I need to monitor you because I don't trust you. Today, Scorpio, you're being asked to own your jealousy without justifying it, to feel the insecurity underneath it, and to stop acting it out through obsessive control mechanisms. Your intensity is a gift, but only if you're conscious of it. Taurus, Venus is your ruler, and today Pluto is showing you the possessiveness you've been calling commitment. Now Taurus, Sun, Moon, or rising, Venus is your ruling planet, and today Venus is under Pluto's shadow exposure. Here's what specifically happens for Taurus today. You're loyal, committed, you value stability in relationships, and that's beautiful. But here's your pattern. You've been confusing possessiveness with commitment. You've been telling yourself that when you feel jealous, it's because you're just protective of your relationship. That when you don't want your partner spending time with certain people, it's because you're committed. That when you track their location or need constant updates, it's because you care. But today, Pluto asks, is it really commitment, or is it fear of loss disguised as devotion? Here's your specific work for today. First, your partner is not your possession. They're a person with autonomy, with the right to have relationships outside of you. Second, jealousy is fear, and underneath that fear is the belief that you're not enough, that they'll find someone better. Address that belief directly, instead of trying to control them to prevent it. Third, commitment means trust. If you're constantly monitoring, constantly checking, constantly needing reassurance, that's not commitment, that's insecurity. Today, Taurus, you're being asked to see the difference between healthy devotion and possessive control, between loving someone and owning them. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary, because love without trust isn't love, it's a cage. Aquarius, Pluto in your sign is forcing you to admit you're not as detached as you pretend. Okay, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or rising, Pluto is in your sign, and that means Pluto is working on your identity, your self-concept, your ego structures. And today, with Venus tense to Pluto, the shadow being exposed is this. You're not as emotionally detached as you pretend to be. You pride yourself on being the cool partner, the one who doesn't get jealous, the one who's secure and evolved and totally fine with your partner having other connections. But today, Pluto says really, and suddenly you're aware of the jealousy you've been intellectualizing away, the possessiveness you've been denying, the insecurity you've been pretending doesn't exist. Here's what specifically happens for Aquarius today. Your partner does something that triggers your jealousy, and your first instinct is to rationalize it away. I'm not jealous. I just think it's interesting that they're texting their ex. I'm not insecure. I'm just logically assessing whether this relationship meets my needs. But underneath the intellectual analysis, you're hurt, you're scared, you're jealous, and you don't know how to process that because you've spent so much energy constructing an identity as the partner who doesn't feel these messy emotions. Today, that construction cracks, and you have to decide if you're going to keep pretending, or if you're going to admit you're human. Here's your specific work for today. First, detachment is a defense mechanism. You intellectualize emotions to avoid feeling them, but that doesn't make the emotions go away. It just makes them unconscious. Second, you can be both independent and vulnerable, both evolved and insecure, both rational and jealous. Those aren't contradictions. That's being human. Third, your partner can't meet your emotional needs if you pretend you don't have any. Today, Aquarius, you're learning that emotional honesty is more valuable than appearing unaffected, that admitting jealousy is braver than pretending you never feel it. Let yourself be messy. Let yourself be human. That's where real intimacy lives. The protocol, and why processing jealousy consciously prevents it from becoming toxic. All right, let me give you the protocol for today, because here's what people get wrong about jealousy. They think feeling it makes them toxic, but that's not true. Everyone feels jealousy. It's a normal human emotion that signals perceived threat to a valued relationship. The problem isn't feeling jealousy, it's what you do with it. Repress it, it becomes obsession. Act on it impulsively, it destroys trust, but process it consciously, it becomes information about your insecurities that you can actually heal. First, when jealousy surfaces today, name it out loud to yourself. I'm feeling jealous right now. Don't rationalize it away. Don't call it intuition or logic or concern. Call it what it is: jealousy. Once you name it, you can work with it. As long as you're denying it, it controls you unconsciously. Second, ask yourself, what am I actually afraid of? Jealousy is always fear. Fear of loss, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough. So when you feel jealous today, get underneath the surface emotion. I'm jealous they're talking to their ex becomes I'm afraid they'll realize their ex was better than me. That's the real fear. Address that, not by controlling your partner, but by healing your insecurity. Third, distinguish between jealousy that's informing you and jealousy that's distorting reality. Sometimes jealousy is your intuition saying something is off here, but most of the time jealousy is your insecurity saying I don't feel safe. Learn to tell the difference. If you're obsessively checking their phone, stalking people on social media, creating worst-case scenarios, that's distortion. If you calmly notice a pattern and want to have a conversation, that's information. Fourth, if you need to talk to your partner about jealousy today, do it vulnerably. Not why were you talking to them, but when I saw you talking to them, I felt jealous. I know that's my insecurity, but I wanted to be honest about what I'm feeling. Vulnerability disarms defensiveness, accusation creates it. And fifth, if your jealousy is chronic and obsessive, that's not about your relationship, that's about your attachment wounds, about past betrayals you haven't healed, about core beliefs that you're not enough. Today's Venus-Pluto exposure is showing you that shadow so you can heal it, not so you can act it out. Therapy, journaling, self-inquiry, do the work to heal the wound underneath the jealousy, because controlling your partner doesn't heal insecurity, it just makes the relationship toxic. All right. Today, Venus in the final degrees of Pisces forms a tense aspect with Pluto in Aquarius, and hidden jealousy you didn't know you were carrying surfaces, not the obvious kind, the insidious kind, the jealousy you've been repressing because you're too evolved, too secure, too spiritually advanced to feel something so base. And today, Pluto pulls it to the surface, shows you the obsessive thoughts, the stalking behavior, the control mechanisms disguised as care. Medea loved Jason so obsessively that when he betrayed her, she destroyed everything because she had no way to process her jealousy except through toxic action. Today, you have a choice. Process the jealousy consciously, feel the insecurity underneath it, heal the wound that makes you feel not enough, or repress it again and let it become toxic. Let it become Medea's obsession. Do the protocol. Name the jealousy. Find the fear underneath it. Distinguish information from distortion. Speak vulnerably if you need to speak. And if it's chronic, do the work to heal the attachment wound. Because jealousy isn't the problem. Everyone feels it. The problem is pretending you don't, repressing it until it becomes obsession, controlling instead of healing. Today, the shadow surfaces. Tomorrow, Venus enters Aries and a new cycle begins. But today you see what you've been hiding and you decide what you're going to do about it.